Hey guys, what's up? My name is Samantha Kastenholt and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about something that is very personal and close to my heart, and that is endometriosis and infertility. This is not a very funny video, and I know it's not something that I would typically enjoy to make, but it's something that I deal with every day and something that I feel like I need to bring light to because so many women have it and deal with this, and I don't think it's talked about enough. So let's get into it. Firstly, I would like to tell you my story. If we rewind back 8 years ago, right after I first moved to Vegas, I had no idea what was wrong with my body. I don't even know if I had endometriosis at that time, but I did start to notice weird things happening, and it started with me having to go pee all the time. I noticed as soon as I would have a glass of water, or if I was drinking or any type of liquid, just 1 cup would set me off to the bathroom at least 3 times in 1 hour. So I thought that was really strange, but I didn't really think too much of it. I was like, okay, maybe this is just what happens when you are older or get older in your 20s. And as time went by, I started to get really bloated in my stomach, and I didn't know what that was. And then I started to get pain in my stomach, and I was like, I knew something wasn't right. So in Las Vegas, I started to going to the doctor, and I kept asking like, hey, this is what's wrong with me, what's going on, what is this? And every doctor, literally in one ear, out the other, and they kept telling me, oh, it's a UTI. So as the years went by and I kept getting in more pain and I was peeing more, my stomach was getting more bloated, and I was just having so many issues with my stomach, I finally started to research my symptoms, and nothing was coming up on Google. So then I went into Instagram on the hashtags, and I was just looking up bloating, this, and this, and I came across the word endometriosis. I have never heard of this word at this time. I had no idea what this meant, but under the hashtag there were so many symptoms and women writing about the same things as what I was experiencing. So I started Googling this word, researching it, and finally I brought this word to the attention of one of my doctors. I was like, I think this is what I have. I started getting sonograms, and at first they were like, we're gonna look for cysts. They didn't find any cysts. They didn't find any tumors. I got tested for cancer, no cancer. Literally nothing was wrong with me on paper, but I had all of these symptoms. And so I was convinced, okay, I have endometriosis. So after a ton of doctors that I went to and tests done, they said, okay, we're going to unofficially diagnose you with endometriosis because you have all the symptoms of it, you have everything on paper for endometriosis, but the only way that we can officially diagnose you is if you get this laparoscopy procedure done. I had the decision that I could do this and get an official diagnosis, or I could try and heal my body myself. So over time, I wanted to detox because my husband and I had come up with this idea that we wanted to get pregnant by a certain age, and we had been trying and everything was failing. Everything I was doing, pregnancy apps were failing, nothing was working. So I was like, I'm gonna go on a detox, and I'm just gonna completely detox my body for as long as I can. So for 9 months, I literally detoxed my entire body. I figured out how to control the endometriosis. I figured out what flares up my stomach. I figured out what causes me pain. I figured out how to get rid of the pain. I figured out how to completely control endometriosis, this was a huge step in my endometriosis journey, infertility journey as well. But during this, I still was not able to get pregnant. As time went by, I learned so much through so many women. I joined communities on Facebook, on Instagram. I started going public with my problems and meeting more and more women with the same problems as me. That's why I bring myself here today, is to try and give out knowledge to women, and also men if you have daughters as well, or wives that are experiencing these problems, just to bring light to this issue because people need to know about it. And yeah, I went so long with all these issues and having so many problems and really struggling, but I do want to show you a couple things that have really helped me, and I will get there. First, this book, The Period Manual by Laura Biden. This thing is an amazing, amazing book. It is not specifically only about endometriosis. It is about a wide range of things with the female body, but it does have an endometriosis section in here, and it is a very informative book, and I really do recommend this book if you're struggling with endometriosis, infertility, or coming off of birth control, or just having issues with the female reproductive area. Secondly, This book I believe is the holy grail for endometriosis. This book comes, well, first it's called Endometriosis Health and Diet Program, and it is by Dr. Andrews S. Cook and Danielle Cook. So this book actually comes with 100 recipes in it, which is when you're first starting out and not knowing what to eat or take out of your diet or what to put in, or you're just testing out your body, this book really helped me follow like a diet plan to see what things were triggering for my body. So these books really did help me a lot. But what I did is I started to eliminate everything from my diet. So I took out soy, I took out sugar, I took out gluten, I took out grains, I took out alcohol, I took out dairy, and caffeine. I took out all of that, and most people might be like, okay, so what were you eating? Because that's basically everything. Well, no. It's basically the paleo diet. So if you're confused about what you can find for recipes, go on Pinterest or Google and you can look up the paleo diet, and that is extremely helpful. Also, by taking these out, I started noticing immediately bloating gone. Pain, very minimal. My periods were so painful, like extremely painful. And by taking out these small things, I started noticing drastic changes in my body. Obviously, most people are like, oh my God, I could not go without sugar. I don't mean all sugar, I just mean processed sugar. So for example, all processed white sugar is very inflammatory and just not good for your body, for most bodies. Some people can handle it, but if you have endometriosis, I do not recommend this whatsoever. So I started replacing it with natural alternatives. So I would do maple syrup, coconut sugar. I live by coconut sugar. It tastes the same when you cook with it. You cannot taste a difference, and I personally like it better. Just anything natural that is sweet is totally fine for your body. However, processed sugar, big no. Caffeine, so coffee, major trigger for me. I get immediately bloated. I had high anxiety, just huge issues for my stomach, not good. So I read online that I could take away coffee, and I replaced it with matcha. Matcha actually technically has more caffeine than coffee. However, for some reason our body processes it different, I think because it's tea. So I have zero issues. I don't get like that cracky anxiety feeling at all. I don't get bloated. I feel calm, I feel energized, and just all around I feel so much better. So I completely replaced coffee with matcha. As for gluten, that's a big hard one for me. I really love gluten. I love bread. Bread is life. But I started Googling like gluten-free recipes, and I just started trying out recipes, making things to see how my body reacted. And gluten is a major trigger for my body, and probably most women that have endometriosis. So yeah, that's a hard one. Doesn't mean you can't eat it, but if you don't want to experience bloating or pain, I don't recommend it. Just go with the gluten-free option. Even if it doesn't taste as good, if you eat something long enough, you're gonna get used to it, I promise. And it's better to be not bloated or in pain and have something that's a little bit less tasty than the opposite, right? In my opinion. And then soy, you know, I do think it's a trigger. I do get bloated if I eat big amounts of it, but if I do small, if I get like, you know, something with sushi with a little bit of soy sauce, that doesn't normally bother me. It's not as triggering as like the processed sugar. But in the end, if I eat large quantity amounts of soy, that is definitely a trigger for me. But as for all of that, that is basically all the things that I noticed really helped me and allowed me to control and maintain endometriosis and really just make it bearable to live with. However, I still am not able to get pregnant. I believe everything happens to people for a reason, and I think that I was put on this earth to be infertile, to maybe bring light to this subject and teach people about this problem and just be a voice for it, because I can't think of why else this would happen to me. I don't know. I never in a million years thought I would be infertile or have to deal with infertility or any of the things that come along, because obviously when you're young, you think about getting married and having children, and I pictured myself being a mom. That's all I've ever wanted to be, is a mom, and things have not really worked out that way. So yeah, the only option that I have come out to that's gonna help me get pregnant is IVF. And our plan is to do that. That's a whole other journey and a whole other YouTube video that I'm gonna do. That is going to be our next option for trying to get pregnant. And if that doesn't work, then I'm gonna have to go back and do a laparoscopy procedure and have them remove the endometriosis from my body, and hopefully that might help me get pregnant naturally, or also we can do IVF again. Another thing that I found out about my body is that the endometriosis has grown all over my left ovary and has fused my ovary to the back of my uterus, which is not only painful but extremely difficult for them to retrieve eggs from my body, and just causes me so much pain and my obviously bloating and just major issues with my stomach. My left fallopian tube is also 3 times the size that it should be. Yeah, I just have major issues with my stomach. Some endometriosis facts. 1 in 10 women have endometriosis. And to me, that is a very shocking number. That is so many women. If there's a room of 10 women, at least one of them is going to have it. And to me, that is shocking because so many doctors and women don't even know about this disease, which is crazy to me because so many people are suffering in silence for this, and it takes so many years to get a diagnosis normally. On average, it takes 7+ years to get an actual diagnosis from doctors. It obviously goes undiagnosed by many doctors because there are symptoms that endometriosis has that other things also have as well, so it goes overlooked quite often. And for me personally, it took me over a decade to actually get diagnosed by a doctor or even looked at for endometriosis. I was gaslit and I was told that I was crazy. I was told so many things by so many doctors, and only to find out that I was actually right to begin with. To get a full diagnosis for endometriosis, you need a laparoscopy procedure, which is where they do 3 incisions on your lower abdomen. This disease is often overlooked by many doctors, many doctors. Some doctors, I feel like they barely know anything about it. So if you really think that you have this disease, please be persistent like I was with your doctor and tell them how you feel. Show them, like, look at my stomach, this is what I'm doing, document everything. And if that doctor still won't listen to you, find a new doctor. Endometriosis is actually the top 20 most painful disease in the world at this moment. To me, that is so crazy. Like, there's been times when I've had my period and I have been in so much miserable pain that I have been laying on the couch for 3 days straight with a heating pad, throwing up, crying, not able to leave the house, just in the worst pain, to the point where I thought I was gonna have to go to the emergency room because no medicine would make it go away. And it was just awful, like so awful. I wouldn't wish that pain on my worst enemy. There are also, better times, and I do believe that food is a major factor in causing flare-ups with endometriosis, definitely. Lastly, we're going to deal with symptoms of endometriosis. The first one being pelvic pain. If you have any type of pain in your stomach, in your pelvic area, it could be endometriosis. However, also there are very many other diseases and issues with the woman's body that it could also be something else. But if you have multiple of the things that I list, I would definitely recommend going to a doctor and getting these checked out. Secondly, painful periods. This was a major factor. As long as I can remember, since I had my period, when I very first got it, I think I got it at 13, I had issues with my period from the very start. This can also be done by caused by imbalanced hormones, so that's always a factor as well. But there are other things that can narrow down if you have endometriosis as well. Just stay tuned and keep listening. Severe bloating. This is a huge one, and this was definitely the first thing that I really noticed that there was something wrong with my body. It was that my stomach would bloat like I was 6 months pregnant, and I had no clue why. I would just wake up one day, or I would eat something that I would normally eat, and my stomach would get so swollen, and I was so insecure for my stomach. I would live in hoodies. I was constantly wearing hoodies and covering my stomach because I was so embarrassed and ashamed of how my stomach looked. And not to mention, when you're infertile, it's extremely hurting on your mental health and your body and everything. But if you can't get pregnant but to look pregnant, and people would come up to me and say, "Oh my God, are you pregnant? Congratulations." And I'm like, "No, I'm just swollen from endometriosis, but thank you." Like, that is a major symptom for endometriosis. Pain during intercourse. This is a huge one. I don't remember when this first started, but sometimes when I would have intercourse, I would have extreme pain, and I would also start bleeding. And I definitely knew there was something going on there because I knew that was not normal, and that was not something that used to happen to me beforehand either. Heavy bleeding and clots. Huge factor in this. You should not be bleeding extremely heavy. For me, I was bleeding, I would put in a super tampon and in 30 minutes it would be completely soaked and I would have bled through my pants. Sometimes that still happens to me. It's not all the time, but if it's happening, it's not normal whatsoever. Also with clots, sometimes I would have clots, I'm not joking, like this big. I have pictures on my phone because I was like, is this a miscarriage? What is this? But yeah, I had huge clots coming out of my body. Totally not normal. Go to the doctor, for sure. Peeing a lot. Peeing a lot, if you are going to the bathroom, if you drink a glass of water and you immediately have to go to the bathroom and you are going pee 3 times in an hour from just drinking a cup of water, not normal. Probably endometriosis. For me, the endometriosis has grown around my bladder and is causing me to pee all the time. And it's the worst. For me, it's probably the worst symptom for me because if I want to go driving or go on a road trip or anything that's more than like 15 minutes, I have to literally dehydrate myself the day before so that I am okay to go on a long trip and I just cannot drink anything until we get there. If you have issues with your bowel movements, if you are having pain, if you are extremely constipated, now this could also be IBS, but it is a huge factor in endometriosis. The endo can grow all the way into your bowels and cause major issues. Luckily for me, I don't have any issues with my bowel movements yet, and I pray I never do, but this is a really big common factor for a lot of women is having bowel movement problems. And lastly, the worst one for me that I think is the hardest to deal with is infertility. Obviously, this is a huge factor, and a lot of women that are dealing with infertility have endometriosis. There's several reasons why it can cause this, but for me, my fallopian tubes are completely blocked. But those are the symptoms for endometriosis. If you have more than one of these, I would definitely recommend going to the doctor and asking your doctor about this and at least bringing it up, saying, hey, can you check me for this? What do you think? Could this be an option of what I'm dealing with? I don't want this to get more severe. And yeah, I would definitely recommend trying to catch this sooner than later so you don't deal with infertility. Okay guys, so I went through several things that I have gone through in my life. I've given you symptoms and facts about endometriosis, and I really hope if you're watching this video that it touches you in a way and it helps you in some way, because that's my whole goal here, is to help you guys. Even if I just help one person, I will be happy. I just don't want women to go through what I have gone through because I found out late or because I dealt with so many stubborn doctors. It's not fun and it's not fair. And if I could do it over again when I was in my early 20s, I would have gone to the doctor immediately and I would have keep changing doctors until I got one that would actually listen to me. I don't know what my life will be in the next 6 months to a year. I don't know how this IVF journey is going to go, but I pray in my heart and my soul that one day I can become a mother and have my own family. It's all I dream about. It's something that I want more than anything in life. I can't picture my life without a child. Like when I think about growing old, I think about having a family and kids and doing all that, and I just can't picture my life differently. But everything has a reason and a meaning, so if I'm not meant to be a mom, then I guess I'll just have a different life path. Yeah, that'll be a whole other journey that I hope you guys will come along with and watch and enjoy my journey, and hopefully it'll have a happy ending. But either way, I'm gonna try my best to stay positive and be a voice for this horrible disease and infertility, and I will always continue to be vocal about this. I post on my Instagram and my TikTok about this all the time. I have a great community of women, and we all support each other, and I'm so grateful for all of you. And yeah, that's my life. I hope I covered everything, and if you ever have any questions or want to personally ask me about endometriosis, I try to answer on my Instagram direct messages as soon as I get them. I'm really good at that, and yeah, I'm always here. I like to help women, and I hope this video helped you guys, and thank you again for watching, and yeah, thank you. If we rewind, what the actual fuck? It wasn't that different for me to not eat that.